but he wanted me to pump that up. And then Hester Post is a commissioner. Okay. Sorry, I had to do it. Hello, hello. I am back. So I'm super excited about the next 2 sessions that we have. On deck, we do have the SEC Chairman, Paul Atkins, and the SEC Commissioner, Hester Peirce. So very excited for that. But first, we're going to have a great conversation about RWAs with both Drake Breeding from Circle and Bhaji Illuminati from Centrifuge. So let's give them a round welcome and have them come on stage.
Hey, y'all.
Paul.
What's up? How's it going? Hester? Paul. Yeah, this is the regulatory panel? No. We have a tough act coming behind us, but super excited to be here today. My name is Drake Breeding. I work at Circle. I'm on the business development team working on ARC. ARC's our new layer 1 blockchain. We're really excited to talk about it today. Bhaji, you want to introduce yourself? Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Yeah, for anybody who's been sitting here for an hour, good to see you again. I am Bhaji, CEO of Centrifuge. We are a tokenization platform that is building on ARC.
And we're very excited to have you. All right. We're in a really weird moment in crypto right now, it feels like, right? This is my 4th ETHDenver, significantly less new L1 raves this year, right? You know, crypto native people, a lot have left. We're seeing people leaving for AI. Energy is just a little bit off. But on the other hand, it feels like every day we're seeing some new TradFi organization come in, buy tokens for the first time. A new Fortune 500 is hiring a head of digital assets. Like, it's literally, the news cycle on that front is crazy. What do you think about what's going on right now, and where does Centrifuge fit in with this like weird dichotomy happening?
Yeah, it is a really weird dichotomy because from Centrifuge and the work that we're doing, there's been no better time. The institutions are here, the meme is realized. There's incredible activity and interest from all of the large institutional asset managers that we're talking to. They want to tokenize funds, they want to manage their funds on chain, they want to distribute them to on-chain capital allocators, and then work with us collaboratively to actually start realizing some of the efficiencies that can be realized from using blockchain technology. So we've been at it since 2017, and we've never seen a moment in time where there's been more activity and more interest and more willingness to innovate and move really quickly. At the same time, it is harder in a general crypto market. So what we're seeing is really this shift to a more institutional narrative that's driving the industry forward. And that's like the time for infrastructure and the time for building and the time for institutional readiness to actually build these products that will truly transform finance in the long term. So it might not be as fun and sexy, but it's real, and we're seeing incredible progress, and we're seeing this transition beyond proof of concepts to actually building for the long term.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I mean, with Centrifuge, y'all are not new to this. This is not a narrative chasing thing for you guys. It's not, you know, we were doing NFTs in 2022 and we're now chasing what we think is the next hot thing. I feel like Centrifuge has kind of been solely like, we're doing tokenization from before it was cool, right?
We've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah, right. So I guess what's what's that like? I mean, how have y'all kind of kept that conviction in this thing that's been so nascent for so long? And we're gonna talk about all the growth and new stuff that's making it the most interesting time ever for tokenization. But, you know, did you feel like everyone else is just not seeing what we're seeing, you know, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, well, it's a real question, and the answer is that a lot of the early folks, they didn't keep the conviction. So there's been quite a strong turnover from the early builders of Centrifuge. I only joined in 2023, so I was a fresh energy and face and excited, you know, like bullish believer in what the future can hold, because I didn't have to live through the 5 years of stops and starts and false hopes. Technology-wise, we've had quite a few iterations. We started as on Ethereum, and then we were a parachain, and we built on Polkadot, and then we just moved back to Ethereum. Now we're EVM, and we're really positioning ourselves for the multi-chain future. Product-wise, we've also had a lot of iterations. So we started with supply chain finance, music royalties, carbon credits, more esoteric products. And most of them didn't really work out. There was an adverse selection bias. There wasn't really demand for them. So the product strategy has evolved as well, where now we're more focused on liquid financial assets. So we have T-bills, we have AAA CLOs, we have private credit, we have equities, we have an S&P 500 fund. And then the folks that we're working with have evolved quite significantly too. So working with Janus Henderson, working with Apollo, working with these large institutional asset managers who are comfortable with the regulatory risk and the brand risk, and they really want to be leaders and innovators and be early in this space. So everything has changed, really. The overall vision that this is the future of finance has remained steady, but it's taken many different faces, many different focus areas, and a lot of learning over the years.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And it's funny you talk about some of the esoteric assets, because I'm like, when I think about Centrifuge, I talk to these asset issuers and they're like, oh, Centrifuge does everything for me. Or, I mean, they're involved, they have a say, but like, it's just crazy how entrenched, like, and how important you guys are to the stack of tokenizations happening right now, right? So as you're thinking about that, you talk about some of your cross-chain deployments now. What
I want you to pitch me on why build on Arc. Let's hear the Arc pitch now.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we're here for. Arc is our new layer 1 getting built out at Circle. We're live on testnet, full EVM compatibility. We are a permission validator set, so we'll be proof of authority to start, with a handful of large institutional partners coming on to actually secure consensus, but fully permissionless to build on top of. Anyone can come on Arc and build anything they want. Now, I think a lot of times when I tell people that why is Circle doing a blockchain? Like, what is the sort of strategic rationale here? And I think this is something that Circle's been working on for a while, and really it just comes down to a lot of the enterprise partners and the institutions we work with say, okay, I get the stablecoin story, right? Everybody's talking about this right now. I sort of get the blockchain thing a little bit. I'm hearing about this tokenization thing. I don't know, I'm hearing about stuff like vaults. It sounds really interesting, but I'm a publicly traded company. I can't hold any crypto assets on my balance sheet, right? If I do, it's teeny amounts. It has to be in a qualified custodian. There's like really, really big limitations. And I think that just limits the design space so much for these people. Like some of these teams that would be really doing significant volumes and amounts of assets on chain just haven't really felt comfortable doing it because of some of that, right? So that's like our first focus here is just USDC gas, cheap gas fees, consistent gas fees. It's fast, sub-second finality. You don't have to worry about reorgs like you do on a lot of L2s. And everyone can kind of come build everything on top of it, right? Like why I find, we've chatted a number of times now, and I think it's just so interesting because we think that, I think if we do our job the right way, that this is sort of just this like DeFi middleware and institutional grade DeFi middleware that anyone can come build anything on top of, right? Any asset, any vault, any curator, any DeFi protocol. And I think that, we're seeing the growth of some of these just like earn programs, and it's the crypto natives doing it now, but it feels very inevitable to me that everyone is going to be doing this in the next couple of years. And I think if we can do our job the right way, a lot of that activity is going to live on Arc. So, it's payments too, for sure. I mean, we have Visa as a validator, which we're super excited about. But it's really just about, having a safe chain home that people can build on top of.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting for us. I feel fortunate to have been active and involved in the conversations with you all very early. So part of the conversations we've had is how can Arc help you? And how can Arc be a home for RWAs? What can we do that you're not seeing elsewhere right now? So a couple things we're really excited about are USDC. So how can we create liquidity for RWAs? And a lot of what that looks like is when we think about two sides of it, or I guess multiple sides of it, but looping strategies have become a really strong driver for growth for RWAs. So we're working with Apollo, we have a private credit fund, it's about 9%. And there's a lot of lending markets, there's Morpho and Aave and Euler, and there's a lot of curators, Steakhouse, Gauntlet, and there's a lot of LPs, and everybody wants to participate in these loops. And where you start to get that real activity is when there's strong USDC for like pretty low cost to borrow. So when we think about Arc, we say, okay, can we make a looping strategy really work? And can we bring some of these great products with great yields into the ecosystem? Then we think about how do we solve, so we solve utility. Then we think about how do we solve liquidity? And one thing we're working with Christine on, back to the Apollo product, is that it's quarterly redemptions. However, on chain, there's quite a number of liquidity facilities that will offer instant redemptions. So then you start to create a home for these RWAs where the on-chain product has better liquidity and has better utility than the off-chain product. And that's where we get new users into the ecosystem buying into these products. Another interesting thing we're working on and talking about is another challenge we've seen for RWAs is composability and DeFi integration. And the challenge historically has been that the permission products don't have any secondary trading, so they really stay in these silos. But an interesting way that we can tap into the Circle ecosystem and start to look at the broader opportunity of working together is there a way where we can compliantly, legally share the KYC data and use the information that you already have within this ecosystem and use that to drive growth and activity for RWAs? So it's been incredible working together with you on this because these types of conversations are very productive, very collaborative. They're coming from the challenge that we're trying to solve and working backwards, where the challenge we're trying to solve for RWAs is how do we make them interesting? We need liquidity, we need utility, we need composability, we need to actually see real growth and real use cases for these products on chain. And we felt like you're really embracing that and trying to drive that activity and ARC in a way that taps into your unique differentiators and what you can bring into the ecosystem.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's a great place that we're starting with ARC is right. We just have a lot of this sort of network of KYC institutions of folks that kind of say, okay, I feel like I can work with Circle on some of this, and we just want to make a differentiated experience on chain, right? I think tokenizing an asset is great, but if it's kind of just sitting there and we don't get any of the benefits that a blockchain can bring, I think it's a difficult story if you're selling it to like a CFO or something, right? It's like, well, why can't I just buy it off chain? So yeah, huge focus for us is improving utility, improving liquidity, finding everyone out there that can, kind of bring the best of their ecosystem, the best of their DeFi primitives, and really grow this into something that's unique and kind of was not possible even just a couple of years ago. So that's a lot of what I think our vision is. As you think about like just that sort of composability and DeFi aspect, how do you think about permission versus permissionless, looping? Like, what are you really excited about that's happening in DeFi with RWAs right now?
I'm excited to hear the panel that's on right after us.
Me too.
I'm worried about what I say right now. There's a lot of really smart people who are trying to figure out how to make these assets freely tradable. We have a solution where it's a freely transferable token. So there's, I think, like one of the approaches is that there's KYC on subscription and redemption, and they can be traded in secondary markets. There's quite a few folks I've heard that are spending a lot of time with the SEC trying to drive exemptions for transfer agents, where there can be a layer that owns the KYC data that sits on top of all of these protocols. So the answer is that there absolutely has to be DeFi composability, and we need to see better trading and better liquidity and better access to these RWAs. And there's many different folks who are solving it in different ways. And I don't think the answer is necessarily clear yet, but recognizing that we need to drive that path forward is clear. And I think it enables, like, when we think about who are the buyer for RWAs or what is the use case for RWAs, it's more than just retail trading. It's integration into DeFi protocols and driving growth in fintechs and apps. So what that enables, once we can start getting some more of this atomic settlement and having RWAs act like traditional crypto assets, is scenarios where a fintech app that has an earn program can use RWAs in the background, or a DeFi yield protocol that is running a basis trade strategy can also have RWAs as part of their strategy, so that when rates come down, they swap into RWAs. So it's stable coins who want to manage their reserve on chain and provide yield back to their end users that want to have tokenized T-bills that they have as their reserve collateral strategy. So it opens up this actual real integration where it's not just institutional buyers, which we see right now, not just retail, which has been the primary longer term focus, but this B2B to C layer where it's every DeFi protocol and fintech and app that it has a yield component as part of it that wants RWAs to help make up the structure that they're creating.
Yeah, that's definitely what we find most exciting, I think, at Circle and on the ARC team. We're thinking about just, I don't know, I feel like with RWAs and the DeFi primitives built on top of them, it feels like the best version of the sort of DeFi money Legos analogy that everyone has used for years, right? This is not some protocol that's on top of a protocol that's like farming some weird thing. It's like, no, this is a base asset. We can trust this collateral. If it has a longer duration, we can underwrite that, whatever, right? And then do all kinds of new exciting stuff on top of it. On the fintech side, what do you think, like, what's missing right now from getting this into, like more broadly into, a neobank, a fintech as sort of part of their earn program, as part of this distribution, right? I know it's KYC and I know definitely there are some open questions here that industry is engaging with regulators and stuff on, but what about what would you like to see? Like if I'm logging into one of these apps on my phone, like what's missing today for making this just like a mass market B2B2C distribution kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily the outcome everyone had expected in terms of where we're seeing growth in these products, because really what it could be is that on the app side, the user has no idea that behind the scenes, any of these products are tokenized. So from the Centrifuge perspective, a win for me would be that we're working with the core team on the treasury management side, so that as they're thinking about their overall diversification strategy, they're the ones that have onboarded into our products, they're the ones that can buy in and swap out and trade the RWAs, and the end user, they don't really care what's happening behind the scenes. So they don't care what's making up the yield. They want to have a confidence level that it's safe, and they don't care that it's tokenized. They want to have a confidence level that it's fast and efficient. So they're just ultimately getting the real benefits on the back end with it being fully abstracted of how they're delivering that. And that's not like the coolest thing for all of us here, but it is actual adoption, and that's where we see real growth, and that's cool.
Yeah. I don't want anyone to know that they're even touching ARC, right? Like I think if we do our job the right way, it's going to feel so seamless. Everything's USD denominated. Like it's just fast, simple, all that. I guess there's a benefit to being boring, I guess, in sometimes.
When are you guys launching?
Soon.
Let's shill a little bit.
Yeah. We're looking at mainnet this year. Like I said, we're on public testnet right now. So I think in a couple months we'll be getting very close to a proof of authority launch, and even more exciting stuff after that. I'll leave you with one more. I know. By the way, thank you. I know this is your second panel today already. Earlier you answered, what do you think? Like what happens this year that no one's expecting? Instead of doing that, let's do 10 years. What does Centrifuge's business look like? What does tokenization look like? Let's say we get answers in the regulatory questions. What's your wildest dreams? And that's our last one.
Yeah, I mean, it's cliche, but there's no TradFi, there's no DeFi, there's just finance. It's all just running on-chain.
Awesome.
10 years. And nobody's working, AI is just running the world, and we're outside playing in the grass.
We escaped the permanent underclass.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome, guys.
Awesome. Bhaji, thanks so much for joining me today. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.